Ohio police release a police dog on a man with his hands up and complying, and another officer saying, "Don't do it." Here it is.
On the ground, you're gonna get bit.
Come to me, man. Do not let them, don't release the dog. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Don't. Do not. Get the dog off of him. Get the dog off of him.
Get the dog! Get it out! Get it out! The dog! What's the cat? What's the cat? Get the cat!
Get the dog off.
Get your dog! Get it out! Get it out! Get it out! Please!
Put up the screenshot. Unarmed, completely complying. Another officer yelling, don't put the dog on him with his hands up. Multiple times. Ohio Circleville K9 attacked an unarmed black male who was complying with law enforcement after leading troopers on a high-speed pursuit on July 4th of all days. The Ohio Highway Patrol video was obtained through a public records request by Circleville Valley Guardian and raises concerns about the appropriate use of K9 units. We have said and maintained on Indisputable, they do not need to be utilized at all in law enforcement. It is not a thing that we should rest our law enforcement upon. The policing through domesticated animals. In the video, the driver of a semi, a black male, is seen outside of the vehicle, following the trooper's instructions with his hands in the air and slowly moving backward. However, moments later, the Circleville Police Department's K9 unit arrived at the scene. It had been requested to intercept the pursuit before it officially came to a stop. So they were no longer needed, is the point. They were no longer needed, but they arrived after it ended. Look at the moment. Serge, the police dog, and his handler, Officer Ryan Speakman, arrived on the scene as troopers were giving commands to the driver, who was actively surrendering, as you saw. The troopers who were leading the chase can be heard instructing the man who voluntarily got out of his semi to walk toward them, warning that the K9 would be released if he failed to comply. In the background of the body cam footage, the scene supervisor. That means he has command. And in law enforcement, that is supposed to mean something. He repeatedly emphasizes to the other law enforcement officers that the K9 should not be deployed as long as the suspect is complying with commands and has his hands up. The man, apparently confused by who to listen to, pointed to the dog and points to the troopers like, listen, y'all need to get your stories together. Which one am I supposed to do? Each giving conflicting orders, despite the man's hands still being in the air. The dog was set loose by Officer Speakman. Initially, the K9 charges toward a trooper. However, Officer Speakman redirects the dog's attention to the suspect and issues the command, "Stillen," which is a Dutch word for bite. And the suspect is already on his knees with his hands still raised. Now you got to think about the insanity of what you just saw and what you have heard. He not only releases the dog, he then gives a command to bite. There's no argument. There's no argument to be made in defense of this officer that the dog just got away from him. Because if that's the argument, you don't yell "Stelling" in order for the dog to attack. You yell whatever code word you have for the dog not to. So the officer who actually has command has to start screaming and yelling and running toward this dangerous situation now, created by the police. Get the dog off of him. Man's anguished screams echoed through the video as troopers rushed to intervene. Officer Speakman is forced to physically remove the canine from the suspect, while a female trooper, visibly disturbed by the incident, walks away with her hands covering her face in shame and probably emotional about a man who never gave them a problem upon complying. You all may have some decent people in that trooper's office, but this incident stains you. The trooper immediately called for an ambulance, which had already been en route as a precaution. Urgently, they called for others to fetch a first aid kit to administer immediate medical attention to the injured semi-driver. Let's put up the chief of Circleville. His name is Sean Bear. He did not return the request for comment from the Guardian. Meanwhile, an internal report conducted by the department into the incident ruled no excessive force was used in the arrest. A public records request for the document by the Guardian also went unreturned on Monday. The suspect was taken to the hospital and then to the county jail, where he remains locked up on charges for running from the police. The Highway Patrol released a statement referring questions about the canine to the Circleville Police Department. You see, if we were legislatively sound in this nation, there would be sound legislation addressing police dogs, canines, who are trained to harm and kill human beings. All of a sudden it's okay because it's contextualized through law enforcement. Well, what law enforcement did you see happening there? None. You saw a man being viciously attacked who should not have been. That's what everybody saw. You saw probably an intentional effort of the officer not friendly trying to make a statement by way of violating the rights of another individual. These things are not okay. And as long as we ignore them or say nothing about them or, kind of brush it aside because the person possibly may have committed another offense unrelated. Once again, that's when they knock on your neighbor's door. And if you say nothing when they knock on your neighbor's door, there will be nobody left when they knock on yours. Max, thoughts?
I think a lot of people don't understand how common this is. I mean, in situations where two different police departments come together, in this case, the state troopers, Circleville PD, that's when people get hurt, when people start to die. Those miscommunications. Yep. I mean, this is police officers we've seen here are not gonna listen to the person who makes a call, a neighbor who says not to do something. They're not gonna listen to policy. They're not gonna listen to their own supervising officers. And at that case, are they not just by definition a lawless group of people terrorizing random Americans? I mean, this guy ran from police. Clearly, that's a crime. But still, you cannot just sick a dog on a complying suspect.
That's right.
That is supposed to be the policies they follow. And the end result of this is going to be that Ohio taxpayers will probably be on the hook for another huge settlement.
They will. That's guaranteed. everybody here, including the officers who are troopers, not the local police, they knew what happened was wrong and they said it on the video. All right, we'll bring you updates as they develop.